Cato Bertson Larson might not be a professional plumber, but after dropping his phone into an open pit toilet, this Norwegian daredevil turned himself into a septic treasure hunter. Impressively, Cato managed to squeeze himself through the toilet seat opening to reach the unsanitary pit below. But getting back out turned out to be a whole other story. Things got so dire that he had to swallow his pride and maybe a little something else, and call the fire brigade for help. It took them some handy chainsaw action to free him from his porcelain prison. Oh, and the phone? It's still down there somewhere.
In today's video, I'm gonna reacting to a video that is called World's Dumbest People. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you enjoyed the video, please say so in the comment section below so I can find more of these videos, do more reactions for you guys, and I hope you enjoyed the video.
These are times people got stuck in some really weird places. Like when a shirtless man in Seattle managed to get his foot trapped in a basketball hoop. As he dangled upside down, nearly a dozen cops gathered around, probably more confused than anything else. But fear not, help was on the way. Two trusty firefighters arrived wielding a ladder, ready to rescue our basketball enthusiast from his sky-high predicament. Now the big question remains, how did he even find himself in this mess to begin with? This would-be robber thought he had it all figured out, but his escape plan turned out to be nothing short of a dead end. On the hunt for electrical cables, this not-so-smooth criminal broke into the third-story building before attempting an escape out the window. Refusing to turn himself into the police that were called, the thief spent more than 2 days on the AC unit 20 feet above the ground. And while being stuck on an AC unit for 2 days is bad enough, it's nowhere near as messy as this next situation. If you think the life of a pole dancer is glamorous, check this guy out. Clearly confused, a man in Birmingham managed to climb up a 32-foot lamppost, only to get stuck at the top. Making a spectacle of himself, he thrashed his arms and legs to the delight of the gathering crowd below. I know he climbed a lamp, but this guy doesn't seem too bright. Firefighters eventually used a 45-foot ladder and a hydraulic platform to bring the daredevil back to Earth. Now I'm starting to wonder if he's just a moth in disguise. In a flooded underpass in Spain, this woman found herself in a sinking situation as her car began to submerge. She'd ignored all the warning signs about the floods, because hey, who's gonna let a little rain ruin your day? When it was clear her car wouldn't double as a submarine, she pulled off a daring escape, crawling out of the car window like a true action hero and climbing up on the roof. She even managed to save her trusty backpack before the vehicle vanished into the depths. Speaking of things being where they shouldn't, how on earth did someone's car end up like this?
What the hell?
Cato Bertson Larson might not be a professional plumber, but after dropping his phone into an open pit toilet, this Norwegian daredevil turned himself into a septic treasure hunter. Impressively, Cato managed to squeeze himself through the toilet seat opening to reach the unsanitary pit below. But getting back out turned out to be a whole other story. Things got so dire that he had to swallow his pride and maybe a little something else, and call the fire brigade for help. It took them some handy chainsaw action to free him from his porcelain prison. Oh, and the phone? It's still down there somewhere.
Jesus
How
Christ.
far would you go for some chicken nuggets?
To do all that just to not even get the phone again. Jesus.
When West Midlands police responded to a call about a suspected burglary, they stumbled across a pair of legs sticking out of a chicken shop's extractor vent. The 45-year-old thief had crawled into the tight space overnight and became stuck, spending a whopping 7 hours in this ridiculous position before law enforcement arrived. The chicken enthusiast was promptly arrested on the suspicion of burglary and taken to the hospital for a checkup. I think it's safe to say that when it comes to robbing a chicken store, planning is needed. You can't just wing it. And if you're still on the fence about people's ability to get stuck, this guy should convince you. Everyone knows if you're gonna try to break in via the vents, you need to grease things up a little. Well, that didn't help this would-be thief who found himself trapped in a restaurant vent for 2 whole days. A neighboring business owner heard the strange moaning sounds coming from the kitchen.
I keep hearing that thing again.
To his shock, he discovered a grease-covered man stuck in the exhaust vent, pleading for help. Firefighters had to dismantle the vent for almost an hour to free the slippery intruder, sparing him from being squeezed through the sharp edges of the narrow shaft. The lesson here is, grease might make you harder to catch, but it won't help you out of tight spaces. A man in China found himself stuck after a comically disastrous attempt at a DIY appliance repair. Determined to fix his washing machine, he decided to stick his head inside the contraption, hoping to spot the source of the problem. But before anyone could make a step-bro joke, he was trapped, with his head wedged tightly within the machine's confines. Cue the firefighters. The unsung heroes have stuck people everywhere. Armed with scissors and a trusty hacksaw, they carefully separated the drum from the frame. After 40 minutes of strategic disassembling,
now the washing machine is completely destroyed. They have to dismantle the entire thing. You screw yourself by trying to fix something that... Jesus Christ, man.
The man was freed from his metallic prison, sporting only minor scratches and a bruised ego. One ambitious inmate in Brazil thought he had the perfect plan to break free, until his own belly betrayed him. Rafael Valadao, a 16-stone prisoner, found himself lodged in the hole he and his fellow conspirators had painstakingly created in the jail wall. After chiseling out a hole with a shower pipe, Rafael's cellmate easily squeezed through the makeshift tunnel and ran to freedom. Rafael, on the other hand, wasn't so lucky. His oversized midsection was simply too large to fit through the tiny hole. Between the fits of laughter, the fire brigade freed Rafael from his predicament before marching him back to a new cell. And while Nicholas White might not have been a convicted felon, he was definitely held against his will. What was supposed to be a simple cigarette break turned into a 41-hour elevator ordeal that he wouldn't forget anytime soon. Trapped between floors in a New York office building, White pressed the alarm hoping for a quick rescue. But as the hours ticked by and his roll-late snack became less satisfying, he realized he was in deep trouble. Without a watch or cell phone, he relied on sheer determination to survive. After nearly 2 days, White was rescued from his self-imposed elevator prison sentence, and I'm pretty sure from now on he's taking the stairs. A 26-year-old man from Tucson found himself in a sooty situation when he realized he locked his keys inside. Determined to regain access, he thought shimmying down the chimney would be a brilliant idea. The only problem was that the chimney was narrow as it got closer to the fireplace, trapping the man halfway down. Firefighters eventually were called to rescue the man who was pulled out, all covered in soot. Apparently, this is a fairly common occurrence for absent-minded homeowners. So remember, kids, Santa's job is best left to the professionals. And just like Forrest Gump decided to run for the sake of running, sometimes you just gotta climb a tree for no other reason. That's exactly what this man did in Seattle, scaling the 80-foot tree in the downtown limits because he felt like it. But once perched on his leafy throne, the man realized getting down was more difficult than he anticipated. So in true Tarzan fashion, the man decided the tree was his new home, creating a little nest for himself towards the top and spending the night. Man and Tree, as his admirers called him, spent a total of 25 hours up there, refusing any offer of ladders from the fire department. In the end, Man and Tree found the courage to come down on his own. After clumsily dropping his ladder into an 18-inch hole in the pavement, this Swansea man decided to take matters into his own hands. As crowds gathered and onlookers laughed, the man found himself wedged up to his armpits in the narrow hole. It took the combined efforts of random passerby and the fire service to finally free him from his subterranean prison. I guess that's one way to quit smoking. This heroic fisherman is a hero in disguise. While cruising on the Krabi River of southern Thailand, he found a Norwegian couple stuck knee-deep in the river sludge. First, he tried to free them with his bare hands, but when the mud wouldn't budge, he laid face first, offering himself as a human life raft. The tourists were eventually able to pull themselves up and out to safety. Once the whole ordeal was over, the fisherman simply smiled, bowed, and returned to his boat. While the rescue definitely took some balls, in the next one, the balls were the problem. Joaquin Cortarea found himself trapped inside the infamous Talus Dome sculpture in Edmonton, Canada.
Some dude is stuck inside the Talus balls. Look at this.
Not only did he end up balls deep in the sculpture, but he was on a date when the whole ordeal unfolded. Firefighters were called to rescue this hapless romantic, but he was stuck in there real good. In the end, they had to use the infamous jaws of life, usually reserved for car accidents. Eventually, Joaquin was extracted, minus his dignity and a $5,000 mischief charge.
People like, oh god. Like, why would you do any of the things that were done in this video? Why would you climb into a vent? This was a mind-blowing video. I hope you enjoyed the video. because I absolutely enjoyed the video too, even though I was flabbergasted by everything that happened in this video. But I hope you enjoyed it, and if you enjoyed the video, please say so in the comment section below so I can find more of these videos, do more reactions for you guys, and up until next time, peace.